The hierarchy of power in the DC universe
is about to change.
The DC universe
Because of the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
It certainly did change, but not how you would expect. Most of us knew that Black Adam was being built up to be a monumental game changer for DC, but we're finding out after all of these months that the problems with the film were much, much deeper than we thought. But hold on, let's give a little context. Dwayne Johnson, you know who he is, was cast as the DC Comics character Black Adam back in the year... This can't be right. 2007? When they cast him, he still had hair. How many of you even remember The Rock with hair? Anyway, in 2014, he was finally coming to the silver screen in Shazam. However, this is where the first twist comes. Somehow The Rock was able to convince the producers of that film to completely write him out of it, instead giving him his own film where he, the D-list supervillain Black Adam, is the lead. I'm sure giving an actor that much pull will never come back to hurt them.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
To put all of this into perspective, at this point Dwayne Johnson is riding high off of Pain and Gain, Fast and Furious 6, and Hercules. All of them coming out within a year's time, using these films plus more to bolster his box office appeal and leverage the fact that he would have a built-in audience coming to support his films. In 2017, they begin to write the script. 2 years later, in 2019, the film found its director, who also went on to direct Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne Johnson. Well, at least at this point they know where they're going. Oh, nice! They even have a release date attached too. December 22nd, 2021. I mean, it's fine. We've only been waiting 12 years at this point. It can't hurt to wait just a little longer. Thankfully, the creative team took this extra time to beef up the script, add a couple new elements, such as Hawkman, Cyclone, Atom Smasher, and of course, Doctor Strange. Huh? Oh. Fate. These additions would help expand the DC universe, bringing in magic for the first time since the flaming dumpster fire that we know as Suicide Squad, and give more characters time to shine and expand the DC universe just a little bit more. After the worldwide delay, Black Adam didn't start filming until April 2021, wrapping up in August the same year. And with production finished, we got the official last release date. Now, Johnson being a businessman is nothing new. I mean, seriously, how many of you remember this can showing up at any point in 2022? Not only was Dwayne the star of the film, he was also the producer, and that energy drink company? Yeah, he was the owner. Gotta respect the grift. The Rock was determined to squeeze every bit of money out of this project. The film's premiere had everything. Stars, paparazzi. Dang, is that MrBeast? But the one thing it had that gave Warner Brothers some pause was tequila. Specifically, Terramana tequila. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong about alcohol, but it does go into a moral gray area when you're promoting a PG-13 film geared towards teens and children. And it becomes a bit more of a problem when the owner of the tequila brand is your main star, and reportedly demanded that it be there and supplied to the masses. This was the first publicized fight between DC and The Rock, but we had no idea how much worse it would get. Let's be honest here. Black Adam was never going to make $1 billion. No matter how much the hype machine we call Dwayne Johnson could do, and boy oh boy did he pull out all the stops. Before the film even came out, he tried to drum up as much hype as possible by going on Jimmy Fallon's show and spoiling the post-credits scene, just to put more butts in seats. And yes, he did what none of us thought was possible. Dwayne Johnson brought back Henry Cavill as Superman. He brought him back to set up a potential fight between the two Titans in a future sequel. But as we'll discuss later, nothing in DC can ever stay too good for too long. That became more apparent when the critics score, and let's be honest, critics normally support flaming piles of garbage. As of writing this, the film sits at a 38% Rotten Tomatoes score. Yet an audience score 50 points higher? I don't know who these people are that rate the film this high, but shame on you. But the trouble for the film didn't end with Rotten Tomatoes. In fact, that was just the beginning. Black Adam was touted as being the strongest box office opening weekend domestically of The Rock's career. But for a superhero movie, It's pretty subpar. Comparing apples to apples, Black Adam's domestic box office opening weekend was half of Deadpool's, a similar film that operated on about a quarter the budget. Seriously, Deadpool had a budget of about $58 million and opened to about $132 million. Compare that to Black Adam, which had a budget of, holy crap, $210 million? And it only opened to 67. Editing Alex cutting in to say that actually my numbers were underestimated. In fact, they went back to do $70 million worth of reshoots, ballooning the budget up to a staggering $260 million. So for the numbers in this segment for Black Adam's budget, it was even worse than we thought. No one ever wants to admit that their film is not a commercial success, but at this point, The Rock doubled down and spun this film harder than a third grader with a Beyblade back in 2004. Johnson began publicly talking about the box office earnings for the film, and tried to tell people that, despite their lying eyes, it was a hit. To estimate the actual cost of a movie, you take the production budget and double it to account for marketing. In this case, the production budget was $210 million. Doubling to $420 with marketing, they would have to make at least that to break even. The film's overall box office was $393 million. That would mean the film lost an estimated $25 million. I don't think there's any amount of shilling that The Rock could have done to save that much money. With what was widely considered to be a commercial bomb and a film that would have been better coming out in 2007, DC had to restructure. For years, their films and television had absolutely no cohesion. You would have no idea what was in or out of canon, or what characters would interact with each other at any other point. And it would all be worth it, because we would finally have Henry Cavill coming back as Superman. Our Superman. Seeing that S for the first time in years, we had hope. Hope that no matter what we had gone through in the last few years, we had something positive to look forward to. That is, until... At this point, there was a change in DC leadership. A week after Black Adam was released, it was announced that the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and the Suicide Squad, James Gunn, would be taking over as head of DC Creative. At first, it wasn't a point of worry for the fanbase. In fact, most people were ecstatic about this. We would finally have a singular vision running DC like Marvel had had for 14 years at that point. However, we celebrated a bit too early, because just about 50 days later, it was announced that Henry Cavill was Superman no more. But not only was Henry Cavill out from playing Superman, they also announced there was no further plans on bringing Black Adam back to the DCEU. Now that more time has passed since all of these events went down, even more information has come out about the behind-the-scenes issues with The Rock at DC. As we talked about earlier, Johnson was able to convince the producers of the Shazam film to write him off and give him his own solo project, where he was the lead. And he wouldn't have to share the spotlight with Shazam at that point. But it goes deeper than that. Shazam was actually supposed to be the original cameo in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, but The Rock interfered, and Henry Cavill's Superman was put in instead. Shazam showing up in the post-credit scene would actually make sense, considering they both got their powers from the exact same source. Plus, Black Adam has a rich history with Shazam, or I should say Captain Marvel, going all the way back to the golden age of comics. And I can absolutely talk about the name change from Captain Marvel to Shazam at a later point, so stay tuned. Plus, Superman and Black Adam have absolutely no connection in the films. But you know who does? Shazam! They could have absolutely put him instead of Superman. It would have made more thematic sense, considering the only time you really saw any kind of tie between Shazam and Black Adam was in Shazam, where you see a magical hologram of Black Adam when they explain the previous champion and what happened to him. But surprise, surprise, Black Adam's face was covered in the hologram, so you didn't have to pay Dwayne Johnson. But hold on a minute, dear viewer. It doesn't stop there. While making Shazam 2, they wanted to use some of the JSA characters in a post-credit scene to help build up hype for the DCU's future. And you'd think that'd be totally fine, but no. No, it was not. Since The Rock was a producer on Black Adam, he apparently had creative control of what would happen with the characters introduced in his movie. And use that control he absolutely did. It's reported that Dwayne Johnson vetoed the characters from the JSA appearing in the post-credit scene of Shazam 2, instead opting in for Amanda Waller's government lackeys in their place, absolutely demolishing any kind of cohesion that would have been had between the two properties, leaving Shazam without his greatest villain. This should never have happened. One actor should never have had this much control over another property, especially when they're not even in it. And as a final bombshell, it's reported that apparently the reason Dwayne Johnson was taking so much responsibility for Black Adam, promoting it so hard, and doing everything he could to make this film a success was because he was the one actually trying to get control of DC Studios before the James Gunn announcement. And it's not like he was even hiding it either. Remember what he kept saying.
Things will never be the same. Because the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
Yeah, just not how you thought it would go.
Emotional damage!
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, click right here to see a video about 5 projects that need to be forgotten from both DC and Marvel and never brought back to live action. Or click here to watch a video where I discuss the future of Phase 5 of the MCU. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.